Well, good day, everyone. Welcome to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. And we are here for our moon gathering. Gail Ward is with me, and we gather together between the new and full moons, typically right before. And this one is a very special one because it's also part of our eclipse season. It's the second eclipse. And Gail is going to offer us goddess guidance. So we're just going to do an intro, and then if you want to then follow along with your rising sign, you can also look at your sun if you wish and moon. But with the rising sign, we're going to look at each house and meanings of the houses and just maybe where these energies are going to show up for you. So thanks, Gail, for being with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm loving these sessions that we're having this momentum with it. So so exciting to be hearing what the new energy is for this massive full moon eclipse on. I'm not sure what time it is, but this weekend. So I'm going to pass it back to you, and yeah, just to see what's unfolding for us. Great time to be here at this moment. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are definitely in a time of change, and that's essentially what we're going to talk about. For everyone is in a in some sort of eclipse in some way, and a real shift in consciousness in general, but specifically, also what we value. We went through that Venus retrograde in the summer, and we have a lot of energy also coming from Pluto, and that is at its last degrees and is now moved forward, and it's going to go into Aquarius. But as we wrap up what we had going on the last 2 years, essentially, we are going to have this culminating of our Taurus lunar eclipse. It's a partial eclipse on October 28th, and it will be at 2:24 p.m. Mountain Time. So that'll be 4:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's about 9:24 p.m. then in the UK. Yeah, about 7 hours ahead. So we will be seeing that at 5 degrees Taurus. So now the nodes, as we talked about during the Libra solar eclipse, the eclipses are generated by having the nodes in with the sun and the moon, near the sun and the moon, usually within about 18 degrees. So what's happened with this is that, yes, the node has moved into Aries, as you see here, but it's still within proximity of that full moon. Here's our moon at 5 degrees. Here's our sun in Scorpio at 5 degrees. So because we still have that proximity, it's still in the eclipse energy. Now, with whatever has been happening here, it will take you back essentially to 2003 into 2004. If you were around at that time, we had the same nodal axis. And that's what's been happening in the houses that you have in Taurus and Scorpio, and wherever that is in your chart. And this particular one is culminating. So it's basically at the last one. So it started kind of around 2021 in November, but we had a real activation of it in April of 2022. So that was like our first eclipse that happened for us in, that was really highlighting the axis of the Taurus and the Scorpio. And so this will be the last one. We had another activation in, so April 2022, we had that one, and then we had another one in January, like around the 29th of January 2023, and then this one, and then we'll have that final, like, third closing square on July 27th, 2024. So that is just all connected to the moon phase with Taurus. So visibly in the sky, this one we won't see in North America like we saw this solar eclipse. This one will be more seen in the Eastern Hemisphere, like including Africa, Europe, Asia, and parts of Australia. So I'm not sure if you'll see a little bit more there, but in North America, there won't be the visibility of it as we saw with the solar eclipse. So as we know before, like these eclipses happen twice a year, and they're always connected to something quite fated and kind of a shift or a course correction towards our destiny. So whatever's ending or wrapping up or being illuminated right now is absolutely part of the path that you're meant to be on. So um, we definitely have um, the moon being only, it's only, partially eclipsed, meaning like it's intercepting only part of the light. So it isn't quite as strong as a total full lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse that we just had, but it still is a very important culmination because of this node now being now in Aries, and this being that last of that 18-month cycle of the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. So as we, and these are very fixed as well. So we have earth and water, and they're the fixed signs. So there was a lot of energies that maybe felt like they were a little harder to move, and things that people were possibly holding on to. And it's also very emotional because it is a lunar eclipse. It's connected to that moon. It really brings up, the Taurus energy too, which has a lot to do with the five senses, and it may feel like this whole culmination, like the with the water, the deep water of Scorpio. It may feel like there's like a tidal wave, where we're dealing with ocean water with Scorpio, like a tidal wave of emotion. And it's sort of like now it's been that way for some people more so than others. And now it's kind of receding, as the tide had come in, and now the tides are starting to recede as we wrap up this eclipse. Another thing to keep in mind is going back to the Venus, like where we had the Venus retrograde all summer, is that Taurus is a Venus ruled sign. So that Venus, which is in trine to Uranus and in trine to Pluto, will also be activated by the moon after the eclipse, because it is in trine. So the moon will move on this way and hit Uranus. And I have the transit of October 31st because that's when that happens. So we will definitely have our Venusian themes in this eclipse as well. And in that earth sign of Taurus, it's like all those things that make you feel safe and secure, like things to do with our finances, what's sweet, what's beautiful, what's tranquil, what's aesthetic. Taurus has to do with our resources, our money, our wealth, our food, building wealth and building, all of those things in a fertile soil and what's growing and building upon that. It has to do with all of our sensual desires and our physical embodiment of things and what we find beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, and abundant. So the North Node over this last 18 months, since, around late November 2021 into 22, starting there until now, it's really been highlighting that. But there's also, things to look at with the shadow sides of Taurus. And Taurus really needs safety and security and stability. And so sometimes in order to feel safe, we know emotionally we've definitely had things happen in our life that have been stored in our body and in an emotional way. Things, and that's, when we talk about triggers, at times you can be triggered, and it's because the energy of that event is still stored in the body. So often there's a sense of wanting to hang on to those parts of you that have kept you feeling safe because it is such a fixed energy. And we want to look at the shadows of Taurus and where it is in those parts of us that have had us form these masks or personas that we're putting out in the world that aren't as authentic to our soul, that help keep us feel safe and secure and protected. So we want to also look where we're being really rigid and inflexible with that Taurus energy, the bull, and where we can also be over possessive of possessions and material things, and wanting to hang on too tightly to those, physical things. And sometimes with the Venus ruled sign, it can also be a little too extravagant, but it's where can you allow yourself to flow with it being such a fixed, rigid sign, where you can allow yourself to flow so that, you haven't let things hanging on so tight get out of proportion, and really, really figuring out what you value. And that we've been in this real review of that, of course, over the summer with the Venus and Leo. But it's still kind of part of the energy of this eclipse as well. So we really need to trust that this South Node, and now South Node is showing up here, of course, in Libra right now, but the South Node, because the nodes move backwards in retrograde motion, the South Node since November, well, late 2021, the South Node has been moving through the sign of Scorpio. And what have you been needing to release in that particular house for you? So in this current chart, we have it as, just a Capricorn rising. And it was only just because I did it for the area that I'm near here. So it's showing up in the 11th house, but for everybody's natal chart, it's going to end up in a different house. And we'll go through those houses later. And so Scorpio is very fixed too, and it's all the deep psychological parts. So we've been all trying to let go of a part of us that isn't really serving us anymore. And what has been revealed in all of this, deep digging into our unconscious or subconscious, to it may have felt really cathartic because we're just all trying to get to a new phase in our life journey. And there's just a real shift in consciousness, and we're going to feel it even stronger as Pluto shifts into Aquarius in the early part of 2024. So far, does that seem like make sense? Do you have any questions, Gail?
Just so thorough, and I felt a lot of what you were saying. I felt it deeply. It's almost like I felt it in my bones because it's what I've been working through. So, all that aesthetics, that Taurus energy, and feeling so deeply, and even working with you through the empowerment coaching, it's like, I've been aiming, my goal has been about working towards minimalism, and I'm quite a fixed sign, hello Scorpio, fellow Scorpios out there, I'm very fixed, and so and I don't have much Taurus in my chart, so so basically that really resonates with me, and letting go, and even letting go of emotions and all the past is something that I've been working over, and and I'm still willing to let go. And I see this process as continuing to unfold in the next 18 months as we go through this next axis. So I'm just hugely grateful for you sharing and what that means. So yeah, let's continue. I don't want to stall this information. It's so helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And yeah, that's interesting you saying I'm just working towards a simpler, like simplified life. And that North Node going through all our Taurus house in the collective energy is exactly that. It wants to simplify. That's what Taurus just likes, to keep it simple. So this is just learning, like, what from your own karmic path have you learned, and we're going to go through the house topics of that, and so you can look at your own natal chart, and then this is the closure of that North Node that has now moved on into Aries, the closure of the North Node going through that Taurus house. And so we will look at what's being illuminated, though, from that Scorpio axis. And what makes it interesting is that Scorpio is a lot about power and control. And of course, the sun is there, and it's conjunct the Mars and Mercury. So that particular day, we have those, those transits as well. So the Mars is going to be also opposing Jupiter exact, right before that eclipse happens, and then the Mercury is going to oppose Jupiter, and the next day on the 29th, we're going to have the Mercury and the Mars totally conjunct. So those energies are very, very prominent. And yes, the Mercury Mars can be very, in Scorpio especially, very much about detective, but it also can be a lot about cutting words, and even some very tumultuous energies. We have some things going on in our planet right now that are reflecting that. So if you see anyone wanting to fight or getting a little bit too riled up, and looking for, or there's some really harsh words being said, just know that it is part of this energy. It's getting magnified by Jupiter, and it's just a matter of, then if that happens, how are you going to respond? So can you take a breath and not react? And can you take a breath and know that it's just the energies that are collectively happening, and this is a moment in time? And how can you allow yourself to look at changing the way you respond and navigating through this particular emotional trigger that's happening, and what our minds and our emotions and humanity as a whole is going through just such a transformation, and people have just been in kind of hyper vigilant survival mode. So things are kind of really shifting now, and so it's just a matter of how you are going to navigate and respond yourself. Like, how you are going to deal with it will change how others respond and react to you. Another thing is that when we're digging into, well, the Scorpio house, as we talk about in our empowerment coaching, it's like, what's buried in the basement? What are those parts of you buried in the basement? And from that from that part of my teachings, I found a description of, this is from Carl Jung, I believe, and some of the work that he did, that we had the collective unconscious is made up of the archetypes and the emotional symbols that are common to all individuals. So this can do with our, religious parts, our dreams, our fairy tales, our literature, everything that, we've had sort of in the universe and a collective understanding and meeting of like what's in that unconscious, hidden, unseen part of our psyche. And then we have our personal unconscious, more of the subconscious. So there's kind of a distinction there between unconscious and subconscious. And that is more of our own shadows and how we're sheltered in our experiences, and what feelings have we not allowed to move through us, and have been stored energy uh, in the body, and created a underlying emotional archetype and part of us that has been suppressed or repressed, due to the fact that we never felt safe in a particular, because it could be from childhood, it could be from a domestic situation, it could be from mentors, bosses, anybody, anytime during life, and we just always held on to these parts of us. So um, now this actually is a collaborative sort of description, because Freud had a theory as well that the unconscious is the storehouse for the suppressed experiences of an individual's memories. So we definitely can have an emotionally charged memory that is held in our body that we have maybe been digging into, and maybe this is the time for letting that go. So this is for us to access our own in, intuition, our own emotional body, our psychic part of our body too, with that Scorpio, and dig into those psychological parts that were formed, and you know, from a traumatic or just even an event that you've held on to, and so our primary caregivers, our parents, often had a big influence of this, and on this is we have these fears and doubts and uncertainties, that's all part of that Scorpio house too, and we need to look at where we can let go of and take that out, take that out to the trash. Like, we're going into this new phase of life, and so doing shadow work and working through these emotional patterns, belief system, attitudes, behaviors that are just not serving us. And often, with the Scorpio, can sting. They can sting others, and they can come back and sting you, because their situation of a trauma is like a memory. It's not that current thing is happening right now. But then when the memory gets triggered and you react, it has nothing to do with that particular situation or person often, and you just end up in this repetitive loop, right, of old karmic patterns and the baggage that needs to be taken out. So with the sun entered Scorpio, we're really in Scorpio season. The sun entered Scorpio on the 23rd of 2023, so we have this whole month of the sun in Scorpio, and we it's going to, we were previously in Libra, and that's a very mental sign. It's not as emotional. It's very a cardinal mental sign, where the Scorpio is very fixed, and you go deep into the waters. And so we will be there with Mars and Mercury for this next period of time, and ending all these different things that are hidden in our psyche, that are just ready to depart. So if anyone's trying to hang on too tightly to fulfill, like, you know, parts of their ego, and and um wanting to or you getting challenged by someone with this Mars Mercury and the expansion of that, of Jupiter, just know that uh is for reason, and it's a matter of letting yourself um, respond and react differently. So here we are now going into, I guess it's a matter of like taking some time to allow yourself to process the emotions, and what part of the story does need to be changed. And some things that you can do are journaling and meditating. and spending time in nature, spending time in the bath, moving, walking, just things that will put that energy into motion of all the emotions that are bubbling up. And, we've had this whole eclipse season. They're both been ruled by Venus, like the one we had 2 weeks ago, October 14th, with that Libra solar eclipse. We had initiation of that, and Venus, of course, is now in Virgo, which is considered to be in its detriment. It Venus likes to flow and likes to be more intuitive and feminine, and in uh, the creative space, where Virgo is all about um, you know details and organizing, and the um, very like where things needed to be. It's very earthy and needs to be um, grounded, and it's very meticulous and wants to tweak and edit and get things just perfect and just right. And it's very intellectual and rational and logical, so and factual. And so that's more of a mental um, approach and archetype, as opposed to Venus, who wants to be more sensual and in harmony and with enjoy art and beauty. And it's about the friendships and the feminine in all of us, as men and women, or humans in general. We all have feminine and masculine energy, and it's more of the imaginative, flowy, creative space. So that's why it's a little bit harder for Venus to express in Virgo, but it has it's just a matter of like looking at what you value and what you no longer value, that has to be let go of. So yeah, I think that another thing to keep in mind is that this is at 5 degrees of Taurus, this activation of this full moon and the lunar eclipse. And so you'll want to look at what's happening. And then we have this, Mars at 11 degrees. So what's happening between 5 and 11 degrees in your chart? And we, we have it squaring, like, because if you look, it's squaring the Aquarius and squaring the Leo. That's 3 signs apart, the 90 degrees. So it might be a little more tense if you have a lot of Aquarius or Leo in your chart, and a little easier for the trines and sextiles to the other ones. But it's a matter of what part of your life needs to be reshaped and reformed and bring a whole new landscape of that earthy Taurus, and of whatever seeds have been planted over the last couple of years. It's just kind of this, culminating point. And then we have the expansion of the activation of the sun here with the Mars and Mercury with Jupiter, and Jupiter's about truth and abundance and the wisdom. And a good way to look at it, if you're in a situation, is to rise above. Take the Jupiter perspective. Get yourself in the observer. Get yourself into that space of neutrality and acceptance of 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 choices. Your choices are other people's choices, and if they're choosing to react, you don't have to engage in that. And it's just looking at also putting yourself in the observer of when you are behaving in a situation that, and a part of you, an archetype that you may have formed from that place of safety, and that needs to be let go of, so you can open up new doors by releasing those safe places that keep you stuck. You can open up those new doors, and allow yourself to step into what's been holding you back from taking action on things that you really value and love and really want to bring into your life, and what your soul has been calling you to do. So yeah, we're looking at this node now moving into Aries, and Aries going forward now, and like I said, is kind of that similar energy of 2005, but it's already in here. And so for the next 18 months, Aries North Node, that is all about you, the I am energy. It is what you want to it's bring to your life for your soul path, and um, the opposing south node of others and those relationships. So we looked at that a couple of weeks ago with that Libra solar eclipse. And yeah, so then as I mentioned, we're going to have that Mercury Mars conjunct on the 29th, and then on the 31st of October, I put the 31st as the transits. So it's these green, all the green planets around the outside. And on Venus is going to trine exactly the Uranus in Taurus. So that's going to be a real activation of that. And so, that again affects that house. And Venus and Uranus is a time where you could really have a real breakthrough. You could have a great breakthrough, in your Venus um, areas, and also looking at like what kind of optimism or growth, or because we have this Uranus and Jupiter coming closer together, and they'll be coming together in the spring, and that'll be a really exciting time. But yeah, we're going to look at where we potentially could, in our material world of Taurus, the concrete world that we are a reality, what we can bring in, and from what we've been trying to accomplish. So before we get started into the houses of where this energy is taking place, Gail, do you have any more you want to add? And then we'll get ready for that, and you pulling a goddess card for us.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot came to mind from that sharing, and yeah, it's just such an exciting expansion of, like, I'm just thinking, the next 18 months, it's like I'm still kind of in this idea of what can I create, what will I be creating, and with this Uranus, that is very much or the Jupiter, I like that, the idea of expansion as well. Yeah, I there's a lot. So I'm really grateful, and I'm just curious about which rising sign am I going to begin with for these, because I felt guided today to work with the goddess deck, and that's really to do with the Taurus energy. I was feeling that, oh yeah, the Venusian energy, goddess energy, felt very much like that's what I was drawn to. So which one shall I start with? Shall I start with Taurus or
That's exactly what I was going to say. You were totally aligned with what I had first, because it's in the
I wanted to jump to Aries. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's draw a card, and I just want to add in here as well, as we spoke about, divine masculine, divine feminine energy, not to be exclusive, and not to be just referring to goddess energy, because this energy can support gods and goddess. So it doesn't need to be particularly feminized, or so what the energy that I'm going to just pass through here, starting with Taurus rising, is the energy of the goddess that wants to show up. So I'm just choosing this first one, and this is feminine. This is very feminine energy. So Mother Mary is showing up for Taurus rising, and the message is expect a miracle, and having faith that your prayers have been heard and are being answered. And yeah, that just brings to mind actually some of the clients I've been working with recently, specifically a couple of male energies that have been ringing and querying, wanting clarity on their relationships, and so this kind of brings it to mind that exactly what you've been sharing is like, if we do that inner work, if we if we look deeper at what's been holding us back and how we can get clarity and go in and clear out those wounds and clear out that old baggage that we've been holding on to, that that stuff that's holding us back around the wounds and the way we've been working in relationships. I feel that we can all expect miracles. It's just, are we willing to go there? Are we willing to do that inner work? So that's your message. Mother Mary shows up here for Taurus rising. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. That's so perfect. And yeah, that's the whole thing. We all have Venus in our chart. It's part of everybody, every human that's on this planet. So, but that is a beautiful start. And so with Taurus, rising, this is, we're going to talk about, the first house. So first of all, in general, because the Taurus rising, with this whole full moon and eclipse there, it will be affecting your first house, and that is the I am energy. It's how you see the world and how the world perceives you, your appearance, identity, your body, your character, your vitality, your physique, and what, like, what you're it's a very personal house. It's about yourself. It's the sense of self. It's your approach to life and your attitude. And it also has a lot to do with early childhood development and the beginnings of your life. And also, it's the mask that you kind of put on for people to see when you're out in the world, um, but very much about your own personal self and the I am energy. And so, yeah, as the Taurus rising, this is affecting your first house. And so, an example of how this could show up is, and you can look at this for your sun too, um, is that it's being like, if you had the Taurus and say this is the first house and not the fifth, and the Jupiter there is really amplifying who you are as an individual, and really getting grounded in that identity and that sense of self. And um, also then pulling away from, what is no longer serving you in that opposition. And, there might be some, um, you know, different energies and thoughts and things coming up in your mind that just are no longer working for you. So this is about evolving a new version of yourself and being aligned with the different relationships, and what does fit still and what doesn't. Um, we also want to look at, like, if this is the first house of Taurus rising, this would be the seventh. So that's the relationship house. And there may be a conflict that arises in some sort of relationship, partnership, agreement. And, is there a new way you can approach that to get resolution, a new way approaching your relationship? Or is it letting go of it and whatever it is that your soul, what you're rising into is calling you to do. So that's what we have for an example for the Taurus rising. And anything else in that first house, that you have in your own natal chart, any planets that are there, anything that's around that 5-degree mark, how is that being affected? So now we'll go into our Aries rising. Aries rising is going to be the second house. So Gail, you go ahead and pull us a card.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. So, so this is Aries rising, and this is Abuntansha. I don't know how you say her name. Abuntia. So this is lovely. The message here is prosperity, and the message that wants to come through for you guys is the universe is pouring its abundance out to you. Be open to receiving. So that's a wonderful omen, and that's for yeah, for Aries rising. And
Yeah, the area, that's so fitting because a bunch of, because it's the second house, and the second house is all about resources and your income and, you know, all of what you value, your whole sense of worth. So that is such a perfect fit for that. And so, yeah, the second house has lots to do with, you know, cash and income and finances and your resources and material possessions and your assets and what you've acquired, you know, for properties, and but also that sense of value and self-worth and the attitude you have towards money and how you spend money. Um, it can be the intangible wealth, not just, you know, like the monetization of what you bring as value as well, and and the all the things that you're building on, your skill sets and your, you know, talents and abilities, and all the different priorities and habits. Sometimes it can also um, be what you're feeding in, what you're feeding into your body as well. There's sometimes some second house connection to that. So as the Aries rising, um, talking about, you know, what you value and your resources, the Taurus lunar eclipse is with that Uranus there, can be releasing an old money story. It can be gaining stability and security and your own sense of self-worth, releasing that imposter syndrome and or a place where you're playing it small in order to ramp things up and give you more security with that Taurus, more, you know, building on your resources and looking at how you're using those resources and your values and what assets that you have. So, and that could be around Venusian things that bring pleasure and embodiment with the five senses. So, um, what you also will receive. So we talked about that with that a bunch of energy and in exchange for uh, like the value that you put out, what you receive, and what you might create for yourself, and where you're spending and creating your own sense of wealth in this life. And it doesn't always, like I said, have to do with actual money, but all to do with where you feel uh, abundant, and wealthy in your life. So, yeah, perfect. Third house, Pisces rising.
Wonderful. I love how these are fitting in, and you're giving us the overview about the houses as well. So Pisces rising is Guinevere has showed up for you guys. So the true love and romantic stirrings in your heart have propelled the universe to deliver great love to you. So that's, you know, bringing in that greater sense of feeling. You know, it can be relationships, can't it, too? Curious, Pisces are one of the deep feeling signs, aren't they? So I'm curious what you could add to that. Shall I hand that back to you, Diana?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the third house is actually more of the so-called Gemini house in some ways, but it has, you know, its own specific meanings. With it's the communication house, the house of the mind, the way we speak and talk and write and think. It also is like where we have a certain perception or the concrete ideas we have, but it's also the marketing and language house, and also to do with our siblings, cousins, our neighborhood, our very immediate environment, and our community that we are in close proximity with. So, emotionally and physically, it's the people that we're connected to right in a area. It also, like, right in our own area of living. It also is to do with short distance travel, our vehicles or transportation, or our learning in our early education, or smaller programs like certifications of things. And it has to do with like those kind of subtle day to day things of what kind of goes on and our, you know, in our emotions and our mood and the different, um, I guess, new ways that we can maybe experience a new mind body connection and um, looking at how our communications and perceptions uh, have shifted or how we might present them to the world. So that's kind of like third house stuff. Um, so with the Taurus lunar eclipse there, it also, like with any of this, it could have already started culminating near the end of September, but this is the perspectives that you have and what you have in your mind and how you present, speak, write with others. And or is there like a certification that you want to do or have done and what you want to share in the world? And with that Mercury Mars opposition, there might be others that have different beliefs or different opinions or different religious views or attitudes or opinions or things in that, you know, higher education area of the ninth house or other cultures or foreign um, you know, places, and also things to do with, you know, philosophy and that whole perspective of the bigger perspective of the world in the ninth house. So that's the opposing energy to the third house. And so what are you letting go of? um, you know, from that, from other people's perspectives over there who might have some different opinions or, um, you know, saying some harsher words about what you're doing and the way you're communicating. And, you know, could be on social media even. And this is for you to be able to just step into whatever that you feel is um, your authentic, you know, truth in the way that you speak and communicate, and could also bring you know, a brand new type of uh sharing in the world or some kind of a contract or something coming through in your day to day, and or a, or a revelation with anything with neighbors and siblings and you know, people in your immediate day to day. Yeah, the fourth house will be Aquarius rising, so that'll be the next one.
Thank you. Yeah, so interesting seeing the opposition as well. So Aquarius rising, this is for you. Let's see who wants to appear. And Ostera has showed up for you, and the message is fertility. It's the perfect time for you to start new projects, access new ideas, and give birth to new conditions. And I usually associate this with springtime, you know, and this is new moon. You know, they're showing new moon energy as well. So yeah, I'm curious how this might fit into the current yeah, message. Yeah.
Well, it fits perfectly, absolutely perfectly, because that Taurus lunar eclipse is happening in your foundation of your roots and family and your ancestors, your properties, your land, your living, that place you go to rest and retreat in your you know, home and quiet space and private spaces. And it also, the fourth house has a lot to do with your history or in cultural traditions and people like your lineage and you know, things that brought in from, you know, hereditary, even can be a reflection of the mother. And it is a very emotional bottom, like usually the base, it's the base of the chart, that fourth house. It's the place where you're not up in the public, but the opposing energy is that 10th house where you are in the public eye, that career. So there might be something like that's coming from that particular opposing 10th house energy um, that is changing the way that your um, you know, private world is being affected. And so um, there might even be some hidden family karma or some, you know, total depths of studies or things that you've gone into in the uh, historical way or even into your own soul that you know, may be coming to a totally different light here. So with an Aquarius rising, this eclipse with the fourth house is going to really emphasize that base and foundation of you and your chart, and those family roots and your home. I mean, it could even involve a move, really. I'll get into that after, but this is a way to celebrate you and your new identity, because you are different out than you were out in the world. That opposing 10th house, how you were previously showing up, has changed because you've been spending time in that private area working on your own emotional strength, your own inner, like, self-regulation and inner peace, and not focused as much of what people think about you out in the world. And I, as an Aquarius rising, can totally relate to that. You know, you're not as attached to that career and this profession and how people have seen you in that, and being like making your identity as an attachment of the career. You've just been working on your inner world, and letting go of authority figures, or, you know, bosses or careers or workplaces, or things that totally drained your energy when you were out in that public space, and how other, you know, people seen you, or the profession you were in, or, you know, the volunteering you were doing, or however it was. And so if there was, like, just kind of more toxic, like, authority figures, or people that you kept kind of dealing with in your workspace, and you just finally were like, that just no longer serves me. That doing it that way, I am good. I am happy. I'm at peace in my inner world and where I am at home, and doing this in a new way. And you know, allowing anybody's harsh words from that opposition of that Mercury Mars, um, you know, letting that go, because, you know, they can say whatever they want to say, right? You know, inside in your emotional world, you're stable, you're safe, you're happy, you're content, and this will potentially affect, you know, things, especially if your Uranus is involved, changing things up even in your home environment, and prioritizing your own self-care and values. That's kind of where you're been really wanting to create that own inner happiness, and that's what this energy's um, asking you to look at. And most people hopefully will feel that they've been working on how they feel inside, and not worrying as much about it attached to the outer world. So yeah, that is for our Aquarius rising, and now we're going to go into the Capricorn rising in the 5th house.
Thank you. That's perfect. And my horoscope today said your identity is not a job.
Yes.
On the co-star, I love that app.
Yeah.
So here we are going to Capricorn rising. Let's see what goddess wants to come out for you. And this message is siege, and quiet time is being invited here. Take some quiet time alone to rest, meditate, and contemplate. So that's Capricorn rising. So yeah, a bit of inward time. That's what's coming to mind here. And yeah, as I tend to go more outward at full moon time, this might need a bit more highlighting from your expertise, Diana. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So the 5th house is where our Capricorn risings are experiencing this Taurus lunar eclipse. But the 5th house in general, and whatever planets you have there, are all connected to our pleasure, our fun, our joy, our activities, our children, our play, our hobbies, and very much about creative expression. So maybe this going inward is just allowing yourself to find that place of flow and creativity. You know, our creativity doesn't come from doing. Our creativity comes from taking that inner time within and allowing it to flow. And so the fifth house also it has a lot to do with romantic dating, love affairs, affairs of the heart, sexual relations, dancing, connecting with passions, and the fulfillment. And it can be that could be a time of that inner place as well, right? So that makes sense. It also is a place for pregnancy and fertility. And so there's a very, I guess, creative, this is a whole creative space. And it also is a house of entrepreneurship. And it can be one of things that are very, very heart centered for you. And so it's just that pleasure, joyful, fun house, children, and creative space. So for Capricorn rising, this lunar eclipse in Taurus in this fifth house can maybe bring in more love and romance, right? With the Jupiter there with it, and Uranus, and shaking things up, also to bring more fun and play and allow yourself to be more childlike or bring more creative expression. And it could also be any of your creative endeavors or grounding yourself into like this new area of what has been coming up for the last 2 years. And so we're going to uh, be really focused on whatever it is in this part of your life that you value in that creativity and the expansion of that. And who knows, like, I mean, you want to look at the opposing of this Mercury Mars. If people are being very critical of your creative work, or you having too much fun, or whoever it is you're dating, or something to do with your children or any of those things, um that's you can just like let that go. That your priority is to bring joy, pleasure, fun, and not worrying about what others may have to say about you having a good time, really, and enjoying your pleasures in life and your kids. And yeah, so that is for our Capricorn rising. And now we'll go into the sixth house of the Sag rising. Gail.
Whoop whoop. Let's pull a
Yeah.
card for Sag rising. That is myself and probably many others. And I've got Yamanara. So she is bringing golden opportunity. And the message Yamanara wants to bring is important doors are opening for you right now. Walk through them. So that's beautiful. She's really in the water here with the dolphins in the background. So yeah, I'd love to know what messages you bring from the sixth house. You said from the moving into the sixth house position. I'd love to know what that stands for all us people exploring astrology and who are new to it.
Yeah, that's perfect, because the sixth house is our daily routines and work and habits, and all the hard work and areas of service and sacrifice that we put in. So that was perfect. There may be something new coming in that area, but the sixth house in general, wherever you have this in your chart, is affected by working uh, and your day-to-day workplace, workspace, who you're working with, co-workers, but also very much to do with your, how you feel useful and where you sacrifice your time, and also your health, nutrition, very much to do with um, your health and vitality, and what you do to help your body and stay healthy, and your overall well-being. It also has a lot to do with it's the house of pets, and it can be a house where you do have to sacrifice. You might feel some hardships or struggles or some frustration, where you put in the blood, sweat and tears to persevere and overcome any of the obstacles that might come up. But it's very much also to do with nature and plants and connecting to that with the health space. So that works perfectly with the Taurus and where we're at with that. So an example of a Sag rising with that lunar eclipse in Taurus will hopefully bring some resolution to some of these six house matters of your health or your day-to-day work and the routines, and bring better flow for what it is that you have for that, bigger vision. And also what's kind of coming through in your from that opposite 12th house hidden dream space and the imaginative space, and the place where there's been some endings or undoings. So the sixth house for the Sag rising can also bring up old habits that you want to let go of, and taking better care of yourself and your body, and the changes that are occurring within your well-being or at work, or with clients, or with particular projects that you're in, and the skills that you're using to create that a growth and opportunity. So it's really where your employment is being activated and highlighted, and what you'll sacrifice will hopefully then be starting to show where it's been worth it. It's been worth it. And where you change in daily habits also have been really making a difference in how you feel in your overall health and well-being. So it's to do with our daily responsibilities, routines, and structures in our lifestyle that may have needed some adjustment over those last 2 years, and where the improvements are needed to simplify things and to connect to then that opposite spiritual area, which is 12th house matters, and um, the different retreats that you've, and maybe with this Mercury Mars there, some particular hidden enemies or hidden parts of you that need to be released in order to bring that in. And it might also have to do with maybe a pet that needs a little more attention as well. So those are kind of some examples of how that Sag rising sixth house energy can show up. And the seventh house will be Scorpio rising. So you go ahead, and if you want to comment, Gail, too, on the Sag rising as one yourself.
Thank you. There was a lot there, really a lot. So yeah, thank you for sharing. It's brilliant. I think I might offer, if anyone is really overwhelmed or they're finding, there's a lot of depth to this recording, I feel like I could offer to at least look up for your chart if you haven't got a clue how to find a chart. I'm willing to do that for any newbies that want to understand where their rising sign is, because obviously if you're just starting you might not have a clue what that even is or where that is on your chart. So I'm just going to throw that one in, and I know Diana actually does in-depth readings, so Diana can shed a lot more light on where specific planets are for you, as you grow and as you want to go in further in depth with that. So my next rising card, goddess card, is for Scorpio, and Coventina is here for Scorpio risings, and the word is purification. It's time for a cleansing, detoxification of your mind and body, or body and mind. So that's very much about the water again, isn't it? Yeah, let's hand that one back to you, Diana, and yes, for the in-depth, what that actually means. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Gail. Yeah, this is a lot to do with the Scorpio rising lunar eclipse being in your seventh house. So seventh house is all connected to relationship topics, partners, business or personal, um, a significant other, marriage, unions, one-on-one relationships, and contractual agreements, alliances, negotiations. It brings that whole it can be a love interest relationship, but also, can do with things that just where you have a cooperative partnership and partner type connections. So for the Scorpio rising, the Taurus lunar eclipse with that seventh house highlights your relationship house. And this is letting go or releasing and potentially um, a certain relationship or partnership, or the way that you're doing it. Could this bring up some harsh words and potential conflicts in a relationship? And then does it offer an opportunity then to navigate that conflict differently? So, it may be letting go of a partnership agreement contract altogether, but it also may be looking at how you address that conflict and doing the relationship differently. So there's something that wants to bring in a new foundation that feels a lot more stable and solid and secure, and rebuilding a certain relationship, or bringing in a new one or new opportunities to connect with partners of any kind, and the new people that might come into your life that also could be a reflection or mirror for you in your relationship, and those parts of you that you need to see so that you can let them go and address things in a different new way. So yeah, that's Scorpio rising, and our next one will be Libra rising in the eighth house.
Yeah, sounds like a refresh, doesn't it, for that one? So for Libra rising, Maeve has showed up here. Cycles and rhythms, and she is asking you to honor the cycles of your body, energy levels, and emotions. So that's
Very good.
That's exactly interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very good, because that the the Libra risings are having this Taurus full moon eclipse in their eighth house. So the eighth house is basically associated with the Scorpio uh energy, and with the Pluto energy, and and that all has to do with your death and rebirth, and merging sexual relationships, but the anxieties or evolution and transformation. It's a very much a transformation house of like where you can have that um, phoenix rising from the ashes after a particular loss, and where there's some regeneration that can occur from um, you know after intimate relationship or a trauma, or there's been a review of your deep psychological patterns and old patterns of those fears and anxieties, and connecting to the underworld, connecting to the occult. And it also has to do with the partner and partners resources and finances. And so debt, taxes, insurance, other people's money, and where you have joint financing, and uh, also like where there could be some loans, inheritances, investments, and um, also to do with your house of obsessions and compulsions, and where you do the shadow work. And so that really goes along with, I mean, that's where the Taurus is in the eighth house, but the opposing second house of Scorpio, really there might be something to do with, money or resources there. So with that Taurus full moon, like an example of an eighth house um, energy could be where you get some news regarding somebody else's money, or an inheritance, or a loan, or a mortgage, or something's coming up that might be, financially bringing in a gain for you. And it could be a support monetarily. With this also being that house of intimacy, death, and rebirth, and Pluto being involved, it could do with power and control dynamics over those particular topics. And where is there some core truths that need to be really brought to light that are going to transform um, things like to do with your what you've been going through over the last couple of years. So it's like trusting in the areas of life that also are expanding, and what kind of spiritual and psychic type support you also can connect with the Jupiter being there. It's to do with your truth and wisdom, and then also letting go of the other side of that, of what other people think. So there's just some examples of the what the Libra rising has going on for the eighth house. And going to the next one, the Virgo rising will be the ninth house energy.
Perfect. So Virgo rising, we have Diana, and
Oh,
focused intention. Keep your unwavering thoughts, feelings, and actions focused on your target, and you will make your mark. And that seems very Virgo, like, doesn't it? We have got attention to detail here, so that's that feels very aligned. And I'm interested to hear what the house means. So yeah, perfect.
oh, it absolutely is aligned, because the ninth house is all about our belief systems and our philosophies. So the bigger picture, like the higher mind, the higher education, our morals, our religious beliefs, our cultural, foreign connections, and also the connection to, that divine source or the God or universe. Like, what are your guiding beliefs? So it's like, connect with that. Keep your focus on your connection with what is, in the higher power, right? So that you yourself, your soul, can be guided towards that higher wisdom. And it also can have the ninth house is also to do with long distance travel. So there could be something happening with that. It traveling abroad, or something connected to foreign cultures, even if you aren't physically going anywhere. And your your different higher principles and adventure. It's also the house of publishing, broadcasting, morals, ethics, anything to do with social and political views, and can also represent the one that it's the seeker, the truth. It's a change maybe in paradigm, or potential, like just starting even a new type of schooling, or something to do with publishing, or law. But essentially, it's ninth house is the truth seeker. And so, with the Virgo rising Taurus lunar eclipse in the ninth house, this could, in conjunction with having that Jupiter and Uranus, in that particular ninth house of Taurus, can bring about moving out of your comfort zone and new adventures, exploring, expanding on your beliefs and your philosophies, and certain, educational pursuits, higher educational and learnings, and ending, of areas that might be more in your day to day, in connection with your neighborhood. So possible travel connection and foreign cultures and new lands, or doing something in business in new ways and new directions, could be connected to a foreign culture. And essentially eclipsing anything that's not aligned with you and your whole, belief system. And so if there's conflicts or disputes coming from the opposing house, which is the third house, which is the mind and communication, or neighborhood, siblings, and that immediate surrounding, or transportation. If there's any, Mars, Mercury energy that's getting illuminated by the sun there, it's just a chance for you to, like, take the higher road. Also look at what really matters, and where your truth is, and to be the best version of you. So yeah, that's our Virgo Taurus lunar eclipse in the ninth house. And we'll then go on to the 10th house with the Leo rising.
Beautiful. And I have Guinevere. She's showed up again. So true love. And the message is again, the romantic stirrings in your heart have propelled the universe to deliver great love to you. So I'm not sure how this relates to the Leo house, but yeah.
Well, the Leo house is actually the 10th house. So that's how we're seen, our public reputation and our career sometimes, or the recognition that we have and the very public eye in it. So I feel like this is you going towards your passions. What's stirring in your heart that you want to bring publicly out in the world? So the 10th house has to do also with the people who are in positions of power and authority, and the success and recognition that you get, the legacy you're leaving, and sometimes, to do with your occupation or profession, or your career, but also just could be leadership position in your community and associations with professionally, or the whatever brings you status or rank. Um, it might also have something to do with promotion, or it's your place, the public image that you have, or fame, or um, anything to do with how others see you. It also has to do sometimes with the masculine energy, or father figures, or rulers, or um, people that have that strong sun. So it's basically the 10th house is at the top of your chart, where the 4th house, your family, home, and roots, is at the base, right? So it's opposing that family, um, home, and all your roots and ancestry and lineage. And, is there somebody that is in your family system where they're saying, certain things that um, that I guess want you to shift how you're being seen out in the world. So there's been this last 2 years, there's like just been a real significant focus on the energy in your career house, and what you're building towards, and what you're creating. And sometimes that may have caused some issues in the family home, because you're shifting so much in how you're seen publicly, right? So it's a matter of you, though, doing what your heart and your soul, as you saw on the card, are calling you to do, and how you're going to be of value in this world. And there might be certain ways that you've been showing up or seen by authority figures, or in that public eye, that it's now time to let go of, so you can show up differently, and there might be a cycle ending there. So there could be it's just a matter of um, yeah, if there's a conflict or a family situation that's in your immediate environment with your roots, and in the privacy of your home, maybe it's just a matter of communicating in a whole different way, and really sharing what you truly value. So this eclipse is just a matter of how you're going to be seen in the public reputation, your career, and the legacy that you leave, and the potential of that with Jupiter and Uranus is definitely shaking things up. But it could bring, big rewards for you and all your hard work, and how you're seen in this public role, or your business, or your profession. So yeah, 10th house. That's uh, that's what we have for our Leo rising. And then for our Cancer rising, it's our 11th house. And so what card do we have?
Thank you. This is so thorough. And so Cancer rising, this makes total sense. I've got White Tara, and White Tara brings sensitivity, and her invitation is to let you know that you're becoming increasingly sensitive. Avoid harsh relationships, environment, situations, and chemicals. So that kind of goes with the Cancerian energy. I'm not sure about the 11th house, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you add to this message. Thank you.
Absolutely. This has all to do with your groups and networks, and your friends, and your allies, and membership. So I mean, if there was anybody that was toxic in your environment, that would be letting them go, because you want to align with these 11th house new collaborations and networks of people and colleagues, or people who have shared, common ground. It's where it's the 11th house is about hopes, wishes, and your dreams and your long-term aspirations. So you want to align with the people who have those shared goals. It can have a lot to do with humanitarianism, humanitarianism, or even how you're like, your social media connections and the community that you are building intentionally with your social alliances. Like, it's the tribe, and all of the the visions and goals that you have for yourself. So with the Cancer rising, this lunar eclipse in Taurus, um, with the groups, allies, networks, communities, friendships, tribe, and associations, um, is like bringing in new connections that are a great support system for you, and in your social and professional networks, building community with people who want like the same future, the same hopes, same dreams, and how you're seen visibly around these people, um, uh, who are like-minded, and you want to attract those like-minded people and let go of any that are no longer aligned with you in the pursuit of your dreams. And it's a new start with the connections of people that are right for you. So yeah, so that fit well. And then the 12th house for the Gemini risings is next, our
Wonderful.
last one.
Yeah, last but not least,
Mhm.
Gemini rising has Sekhmet, and her message is be strong. You are stronger than you think you are, and your strength assures a happy outcome. And Sekhmet, there's the two lions here, and yeah, sort of Egyptian energy, Sekhmet. Yeah, I'd love to hear, as you're the expert Gemini, yeah, I'd love to know what you can add to this. It's 12th
Oh,
house,
yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
12th house, so that's perfect. Be strong. Be strong, because this is the house in general, like in any of your charts, of endings, undoings, the house of anything where there might be some fears or self-sabotage or misfortune, but also spiritual insights and healing, and where you are in solitude. It's where you have that blind spot in your chart, the subconscious or unconscious, like we talked about earlier, and also even literal dreams that come through, or that mystic connection, or any of the um, you know, hidden places that people go, hospitals, ashrams, even prisons are sometimes are addictions, but also places where there's a place you can retreat and recharge, and retreat centers, and also can be a place of sacrificial service, and where there's secret enemies, but a place where you also connect with your soul. And um, this might be, yeah, where there's just been some hidden blind spots of things and those parts that are oppressed and suppressed, that really are getting an undoing. So in order to work through that, the strength is incredibly important, because this is a very hidden house, things you can't see. So that Taurus lunar eclipse happening with Jupiter and Uranus in the 12th house is really probably bringing up some hidden unconscious and shadow parts of yourself, as we talked about earlier. And it's like what things are taking place, or what desires do you have that are taking form in your that are kind of been not in the outside world, and not been uh, seen or shown. And on the other side of it, like what's happening in your day-to-day life with that Mars Mercury, that actually can be bringing in some harsh words, or even your inner own harsh words, because Gemini is the duality. It's the other, like you have the twin. So is there the you show the world the good twin, whereas that other part of you, that other emotional part of you that might need some light shone on, or needs to be expressed in some way. And maybe you just always showed the goody two shoes twin, and it's time for you to like be a little more rebellious, and or clear out certain patterns or dark sides or old programming or inner thoughts or emotions, and part of your personality. There's some potential message in regards with that opposition that does come to you, and that will really reveal what's hidden behind the scenes. And so this can be a higher guidance, or it could be even from your spiritual download or your dreams, or uh, somehow from the retreat, and wherever there, could be even words from something in your day-to-day life, or a reflection there that brings light, and allowing yourself that time to really honor, like, and discover and uncover what you value and in your life, and what's most important to you. So I think that that's a good place to leave it, as that's been the general theme really throughout the whole reading. What do you value? Yeah, so thank you so much, Gail. Like, that was so perfectly
Thank you.
aligned.
Just amazing. I am just blown away with the amount of detail that you filled in there around the houses. And yeah, I've probably got more questions to ask. And I'd be curious what others would like to ask you, because you're just a fountain of knowledge and astrological wisdom. And yeah, I've thoroughly loved this session with you today. And I feel like every time I connect with you, I learn another aspect about this so deep depths of, astrological learning, teachings. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Oh, that's
So back
wonderful.
to you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I went into a little more detail about the houses specifically, because it just was part of the teaching too, that for people to learn about their houses and where these energies are showing up. Because you can look at where your lunar eclipse is happening, what house that's affecting, and then you can also look at where you headed with the nodal shift of the nodes going into your Aries and Libra house, and what houses will be affected over this next 18 months or so. And whatever else is going on as Pluto. Where's your Pluto? What house that is in, and where is it shifting? Like, um, you know, Pluto's been in my hidden house, in my 12th house, shifting into the first. And that can be a total transformation over the 20 years of who I am, and and also looking at the values and the Venus, where Venus was, well, that was in um, the opposite house of Aquarius, rising in Leo for me too, and for you in with your Sag rising, that was I have to think about that. Where was your Venus retrograde? Where were you getting a look at what you really value in this life? Do you remember? In the summertime?
Um, was it in Leo? I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
No.
in Leo. Yeah, in Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's your beliefs in your ninth, wasn't it? Wasn't that your ninth
Yes.
house?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you're in
And it's
cultural.
my
Oh, and look at like foreign connections. And then we ended up connecting. Yeah, that
yes.
kind
Yeah. Oh, the ninth house. That's right. Yes, of
of, yeah,
course. So just
yeah.
incredible. It's like I feel like I'm just learning so much. These last, how many sessions have we met now? And yeah, it's just
Well, that's
so
good. I hope you
grateful.
and others, are learning. That's my whole intention. And I love that we get to meet for these moon gatherings and talk together, because it works for me so much better. I love that you bring the intuitive aspect and the cards and the oracle, because I love oracles and tarot as well. And in fact, you know, was working with that for my own self before I even got into astrology. So I appreciate you being here so much. I know this one was a long one. Um, I hope that we can maybe figure out how to do some timestamps. I'm not sure, but that might be helpful for people. And if you want to connect with Gail, we're going to have all of her links and her scheduler and um, uh, PayPal, uh, you know, where you can also, you know, send donations if you so choose, or connect for a reading and get your own intuitive guidance through this. And yeah, so we'll have both of our information below if you want to connect with either one of us. And it's really been um, great to be here and talk about this Taurus lunar eclipse. And we will see what all shakes out for the next 6 months. It's going to be a big shift. Finally going to really feel a big shift over the winter and into early 2024 and into the spring when Jupiter and Uranus connect. But we'll gather again for our next new moon gathering, and we'll continue to do this as long as this works for everyone. I'm just trying to see when what we'll have for that. Our new moon. Our new moon will be on the 13th. Yeah, new moon in Scorpio of November. And then we'll have our full moon, yeah, the 27th. So we'll meet before those dates again. But thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you very much for facilitating and for drawing up the details. And if you have any questions, contact Diana with her contacts in the details, and you know, pop a question in if you want further. If there's anything that you specifically would love to have answered, you know, come over on YouTube and yeah. And I look forward to connecting with you in person again at some point in the future as well. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. And thank you so much, Diana.
Yes, thank you, Gail. See you soon.
Bye-bye.